Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. Welcome and good afternoon to all of you out there. I'm very excited that you're joining me today as we think through the lens of a landscape architect and build a drip irrigation system. My name is Mrs. Bystrak or Mrs. B, and I have the wonderful opportunity of working with students from the Chula Vista Elementary School District. Together, we get to learn and explore a variety of topics that are all related to water. Today's live event wouldn't be possible without the continued support of our friends at Sweetwater Authority and Otay Water District. So I just wanted to give them a quick shout out and thank them for all that they do to supply safe and reliable drinking water to us here in the community in Chula Vista. Now, during today's event, there are a variety of ways in which you can participate. Today, we'll go step by step, going through the engineering design process as we build a drip irrigation system. Also, be sure to leave appropriate comments, responses, or questions in our Q&A section. I have my friends Mrs. Hughes, Mr. Garcia, and Mr. Bruder who are joining us to help moderate that Q&A section. And finally, stick around with us and join in our live Kahoot at the very end. Now, thinking about when I like to relax and go outdoors, there's so many different places in Chula Vista that I love to go. So when I get a chance to get up and get out, I love to go outdoors. In Chula Vista, we have so many different types of parks that have been built for us to enjoy. Here's a few places that I really enjoy going to. One is the 3rd Avenue Village, maybe taking a walk, sitting on the bench, looking at the plants and trees there. Another one is very close to that 3rd Avenue Village, which is Memorial Bowl, which is set up for music or concerts or some outdoor picnic opportunities. Also, maybe heading out to ride my bike around J Street Marina. Here's one of our newer parks on the east side of Chula Vista called Stylus Park, where you can have an opportunity to play in one of those splash pads. Or maybe you've been to Salt Creek Community Park, where you can do lots of different sports and recreation and things like that. Those are a few of my favorite places that I like to go out and see. Now with that, I just shared a few of my favorite places here in Chula Vista. And I'd love to find out from all of you, what is one of your favorite parks in Chula Vista? And what is it that you like about that park? So we have so many different outdoor spaces. What is one of your favorite parks in Chula Vista and what is it that you like about it? So I'd love to hear all of your responses out there in our Q&A section. I'm hoping that as you share these favorite spaces, maybe I'll have some new places that I can visit as well. Now, talking about beautiful spaces or outdoor spaces, it makes me think about who designs these spaces. So, well, that's the job of a landscape architect. So I want to take a moment and find out just exactly what a landscape architect does.
Hi, I'm Kayla, and every spring I help my grandma plan our flower garden, just like the landscape architects. Landscape architects make plans and decide what plants go in a garden for a museum or park. They might also help businesses plan what the landscape around their building will look like too. To make the gardens look nice, a landscape architect needs to know a lot about plants. Plants have different needs. Some require a lot of sun, some require a lot of water. They also need to know how big plants will grow. Our garden gets a lot of shade, so we need to pick flowers that don't need a lot of sun. Oops, my grandma is calling me. I better get back to planning our garden.
Awesome. So more than just designing gardens, landscape architects design projects for spaces such as parks, recreational facilities, airports, hospitals, and more. Landscape architects use a variety of skills and interests to design and create these spaces. So when working in a career as a landscape architect, you get to be very hands-on, maybe outdoors, thinking about plants, learning about plants, you're investigating, problem solving, And you're also very artistic as you're designing these spaces. You're also working with a variety of people, whether it's engineers or gardeners or designers or landscapers, as you're working on all of these different projects. Recently, I had a chance to meet an amazing landscape architect. Let's hear why Mary Radley, a landscape architect from the city of Chula Vista, decided on this particular career.
Why did I choose to become a landscape architect? Well, when I was at high school, I was very interested in art. In fact, I spent as much time as possible as I could drawing and painting. I was also interested in nature and plants. I was quite a keen gardener. But I didn't know what I could do in terms of a career with those kind of things. And it was really only because of a friend of my father who knew someone who was a landscape architect and told me about the profession that I even found out it existed. So I followed through and did some research, and I went to university and took a degree in landscape architecture.
All right, so as Mary just shared with you, she was really interested in design and art, found someone who knew about this career, and she pursued it. And now she's working on major projects in Chula Vista, either overseeing other landscape architect companies or working and partnering to figure out what kind of outdoor spaces we want in our communities. So as a landscape architect, there's many things to consider. They consider how will people use these spaces, or what type of plants would be good in those spaces. So I want to know from you, if you were designing a park, what elements would you want to see in it? Would it be a playground? Would it be a splash pad? So again, if you're designing a park as a landscape architect would, what types of elements would you like to see in it? I'd love, again, to have you share some answers in the Q&A. I bet you've already shared with us some really awesome places where we can go now in Chula Vista. But also now, I want to find out, what is your dream park like? What does it have in it? Is it soccer fields, basketball fields, or basketball courts? Let us know. Let us know in the Q&A. Or is it just a shady tree to sit under and read a book? Now, a big part of being a landscape architect is also being very knowledgeable about a variety of plants and their particular needs. So when thinking about plants that might do well in a particular area or space, we have to consider that plants have certain needs to grow and to be healthy. So what do plants need to grow? Well, plants need water, they need nutrients, they need sunlight, and they need air. Now, today we're really going to focus on that aspect of irrigation, or water that a plant needs. So we're going to focus on that aspect of irrigation that the landscape architect might have to consider to keep the plants healthy and growing. Now, I just used the word irrigation. Now, what does irrigation mean? That means that when people are, so irrigation is when people add water to plants to help them grow when there's not enough rain. So it could be with crops, it could be with plants, it could be with a tree. How do we get that water to plants that need it? So let's find out a bit more about irrigation from Patrick Kavanaugh, who works with Mary Radley with the city of Chula Vista.
Patrick Kavanaugh with the City of Chula Vista's Landscape Architecture Division. We're here at 3rd Avenue, which was a project that was designed by our own Patricia Furman, a landscape architect. Some of the things that landscape architects are responsible for on projects like this are benches, the concrete, all these beautiful trees, as well as the plant material here. One consideration that we do need to keep in mind is that we need to have enough water for all of this beautiful plant material. You'll be working on your own irrigation system, something a little bit smaller, but when you have a more complex project like this, you're going to need things like controllers, the silver guy back there, which actually tells all of these valves when to turn on and turn off to irrigate all the different trees and plant material that we have here on 3rd Avenue.
All right, so as Patrick mentioned, we're going to build our own drip irrigation system. So a mini model of kind of what he just showed you right there along 3rd Avenue Village. But before we do that, I want to check in with Mr. Bruder to find out about some of those responses to some of those questions that we've been asking you. I want to find out about those parks that you enjoy going to or those outdoor spaces. I also want to find out what elements you would want to see in a park or an outdoor space as well. So Mr. Bruder, what's going on in that Q&A?
We have all kinds of stuff going on there, and we have a whole lot of parks that our attendees shared that they like. Can I share a few of them with you?
Sure, I'd love to hear them. I always love finding out about new places to go.
We had Kat share about a Otay Lake Park that she likes going there to hike, bike, and picnic with the family.
Awesome, right overlooking the Otay Reservoir. Is that correct?
Yep.
Awesome.
I believe so.
I love it.
We also had Layla share about, I believe, Memorial Park there on 3rd Avenue because of all the stores and all the great food places around there.
So kind of connected to what I showed, the Memorial Bowl, that park, and then that whole 3rd Avenue Village area that's been redone, right, through landscape architects' design and projects. Awesome.
Yeah, we have a couple more. We had someone share that they really like Montevalle Park because of the dog park and the rec center and all the sports that you can do there, as well as Aaron shared that he really likes the park at the J Street Marina because of the access to the water.
Nice. Yes, yes. So we have, Chula Vista is so wide, right? From east to west, you can be in the bay on one side and then closer to the mountains on the other side. So we have such a variety of parks that we get to enjoy for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, they also shared, Lilac shared that she likes Hilltop Park. Zach shared he likes Salt Creek Park. A few others shared about Seaport Village, the park down there. So definitely
awesome.
Some great parks that people are going to.
Definitely, definitely. I'm always looking for new dog parks. I have a new puppy, so I'm always looking for those new dog parks that I can get out and about into as well. Well, with that, Mr. Bruder, I think we're going to go ahead and move forward and learn a little bit more about drip irrigation before we fully start our build. Are you ready for that?
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment because I know the sound on my video went off. So I'm going to redo that right now very quickly for you. And here we go. So let's find out. We heard that we were going to be building a drip irrigation system, but we want to find out more specifically what exactly drip irrigation is. Here we go.
What is drip irrigation? Drip irrigation is an incredibly efficient watering method that slowly delivers water directly to a plant's root system. This eliminates water loss due to evaporation, which is common with overhead watering devices like sprinklers. Overhead watering methods like sprinklers spray water onto plant leaves as well as the surrounding soil, wasting a lot of water in the process. The excess water supplied from overhead watering encourages weeds to grow in or around your garden. Drip irrigation reduces the number of weeds in a garden or landscape because water is only being delivered to the plants that you choose to water.
So what you just saw is you learned a little bit about some benefits of drip irrigation. So oftentimes you'll see someone like watering plants or you'll see sprinklers, but this drip irrigation is really going to help get that water specifically to the roots of a plant and also help save a lot of water, which is one of our goals that we like to share about when we are thinking about water is conserving it as well. So with that, it is time to go ahead and start getting our...
What is drip irrigation?
Sorry about that.
What is...
To get our materials ready to build your own... it says water dispenser, but this is supposed to be drip irrigation. So for today's project, what you will need is you're going to need a few disposable cups. So I have some yogurt cups that I've used here. So some disposable cups, maybe an egg carton. These are going to be used for planting. You're going to use some plant seeds or maybe some clippings. Maybe you have some succulents out there that you've used. Also, you're going to need maybe a plastic bottle, something with a cap that's going to help add that pressure that we're going to need for our drip irrigation system. I have some scissors. I have some soil, so we're going to use some soil and dirt to plant or pot some of these seeds and plants. You're going to use a straw to help use for your tubing for your drip irrigation system. And then tape and glue is going to be helpful. And at the very end, you'll be able to test your design with some water. All right, so just a reminder, if you need to gather those materials, you can always press pause and you can resume once you're ready to build alongside it. Now with that, we're going to use the engineering design process to help guide us through our build today. So we are going to start off here by asking some questions. I'm going to show you some ideas of drip irrigation systems that I've seen. We'll plan it out, make sure we have those materials, we'll build it, and finally we'll add any improvements that we think are necessary to our design. Now for today's engineering design challenge, here is our problem. We want to reduce the amount of water used to irrigate some plants that we're about to pot. And we also want to build a drip irrigation system. So that is our goal as we're working through this. Now, let's start off by thinking like a landscape architect. What kinds of questions do you think Mary and Patrick have to think about when they're designing and thinking about plants that are going to be in some of those outdoor spaces that we looked at earlier? When I think about what they might be thinking about, I bet they're wondering things such as, what plants do we want to grow? How much water does our plant need to grow? Are there plants that have similar needs? How often do we need to water those plants? And finally, how will we get water to all the plants in that system? So these are definitely things that you're going to need to determine and think about depending on whatever kind of seeds you have or what kind of clippings you have. Now, when I think about a drip irrigation system or systems that I've seen, and from what we heard Patrick telling us, we know these systems need a source of water. So our system today will have a water source. We also know that they need some kind of controller or pumping unit to release that water out into using pressure in some way. And then we also see that these systems have pipes or tubing to get that water specifically to a certain plant and to distribute that water. Now, let's take a moment. I want to show you a quick plan of what our model is going to look like. So here's my plan for our drip irrigation system. We'll use the water bottle as our water supply, and I'll show you how we'll use this top to control the water that's going to go out to the pipes and tubing to distribute water to those individual flower pots that you'll be using. All right. So with that, it is time to go ahead and start building our drip irrigation system. So hopefully you have your materials. As you're grabbing and setting those materials together, I'm going to go ahead and switch screens here so that you can see my document camera and you'll be able to follow along and build with me as well. All right, so with that, let's get ready for our build. Now, the first step that we want to do is we want to have our, put our seeds and pot our plants, all right? So we want to make sure that we have something that we're going to be irrigating. So what I have here is I have my soil, and before I get started, I want to make sure I add some water to the soil just to make it a little moist, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and add some water here. I'm going to kind of stir it up. So you had either some kind of soil. This is adding those nutrients or creating that environment of nutrients for your plant. So you can determine when you feel like it has enough water or you don't see that dust flying, you can go ahead or you start to see it kind of clump up. I think I'm going to add a little bit more water to mine here. All right. Let's go ahead and mix that up, get that nice and moist before I add my seeds to my little pots. All right, we'll let that sit for just a moment here. And what I'm going to do next is I have my reusable yogurt cups here that I've been using. And one thing you usually notice when people are putting plants into pots is there's usually holes at the bottom. So if you had a disposable cup or something, you want to make sure you put some holes or poke some holes into the bottom of that, just to make sure that if you put too much water, that it can drain in some way so that it doesn't oversaturate that soil. All right, so you're going to go ahead and either, you can probably use your scissors, but if you're using scissors, be careful or you might need some adult supervision or help in kind of poking some holes into the bottom of your cup. If it's paper, it might be a lot easier, or if you're using that egg carton as well. All right, so with that, today I'm going to be using 2 different cups here. Let me go ahead and give myself some space here. I'm going to go ahead and use 2 cups, and I'm going to go ahead and check out on the back of my seed package what I'm going to need for this particular plant. So the one I'm using is what's called bee food. So these are going to be some flowers. So it says, locate a sunny spot, which we don't have much sun here today, but it says fill a pot 3/4 with soil or compost. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up my little pot here. I'm going to go ahead and fill it up with some soil. About 3/4 of the way. All right. Go ahead and do that. All right, and you can go ahead and I'm going to do 2 of these because my system is going to have 2 cups. I think in my diagram I had 3, so some of you can make your systems, drip irrigation systems, a little more with more plants. For today, I'm going to go ahead and use 2. All right, I'm going to put a little bit more in here. All right, I'm going to move that soil to the side. And next, I'm going to go ahead and drop in those seeds. So I'm going to drop those seeds into my plant. All right. And with that, it says I'm going to lightly cover it with some soil. So I'm just going to kind of sprinkle some more soil right on top of those seeds there. All right, so now I have my plants that I am wanting to grow. But how am I going to irrigate these? How am I going to get water to them on a daily basis? That's where this comes in. We're going to start to build our drip irrigation system. Now for this, what you're going to need is you're going to need your water bottle or plastic container, a straw, your scissors, and I'm going to use another cup because once I start with my system, if I have my hole down at the bottom and the base of this container, my straw is going to have to bend around in different ways. So I want to elevate this container. So let's start off by doing that. So I'm going to put a cup under my container. Yours, depending on the size, might be a little tricky. You might have to decide how you're going to make that work. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape around just so that I can elevate that water source. And let me get this duct tape. Let's elevate that water source. I'm going to tape around. Mine's a little tricky just because it's not straight. But I was using some of my recycled materials, thinking about Earth Day. How could I recycle or reuse some things? Now I can use these items for my drip irrigation system. All right. So next, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and put a hole where our tubing is going to go into this water source. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the tip of my scissors. Again, these could be pretty sharp, so if you need adult supervision or help with that, please ask an adult. But I'm just going to go ahead and like puncture a hole here. So I'm puncturing it, and I'm going to kind of twist my scissors in there to make it about as close as I can to the size of my straw. All right. Now with that, my next step is to go ahead and I'm going to insert that straw into that hole. Oh, it looks like I need to make it just a little bit bigger. but not too big because I'm going to want it pretty tight so we don't have any leaks in our system. All right, I'm going to go ahead and squeeze that in. Oh, this straw is a little bigger than I anticipated. Uh-oh, I think I have to go deeper. Here we go. Hope the struggle isn't as real for you out there as it is for me right now. This straw does, oh, there we go. I finally got it in. I was trying to get it nice and tight in there. All right, now with that, I want to seal around it so that I don't have a lot of water coming out when I fill this water source up. So I want to go ahead and seal it. You can use tape. I'm going to use hot glue here, hoping that it melts in time for testing. All right, so it should be pretty sealed around that straw or our tubing. And the next thing we're going to do is you're going to want to bring back your potting or your pot, and you're going to figure out and kind of guesstimate or guess where you're going to need to add those holes for those drip lines right over your plant. So I have a marker here where I can go ahead and mark that. So I'm going to go ahead and make a little marking just on the underside of what I think is about the middle. All right. So now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is either using my scissors, I'm going to cut a very tiny sliver, or it might be better if you have access to a push pin. I'm just going to push this push pin right into my straw, being careful not to make it go all the way through the edge. All right. That glue got stuck to me there. Let me go ahead and fix that straw to make sure it's nice and straight. So I have two simple holes that are going to line up directly over my plant. All right. So it looks like from the plan that I showed you, we have our system in place. Now would be your chance to test it out. Now, because it's a little tricky here for me to use water and all of these devices, I actually have another irrigation system that is set up to help show you how this is going to work. There's one more step that I forgot that's really, really important. To make sure that water, when you fill up your bottle, doesn't drip all the way out, at the end of your straw, you need to close that up. So either filling it with glue or covering it with a piece of tape, you need to make sure that it's completely sealed at the end of your straw. You want that to be airtight, because when you add the water, which I want you to do over a sink, don't do it right now. I wouldn't do it right now. I would add the water, and once you see the water moving, you'll see it fill up the straw. Now, if it starts to come out the edge of your straw, you'll need to improve your design. But once you cover, after you filled with water and you cover it up, let me show you what's going to happen with your drip irrigation system. So let me grab the one that I have finished here. Now this one here is nice and full of water. So remember I showed you, or Patrick showed you, that there was pressure needed to get that drip to the plant. So if I just push on this, I don't know if you can see it from the top, but as I'm pushing on it, you can kind of see some drips coming down. Now, another thing I could do is I could gently loosen the top, and that would make a lot more water flow. So to adjust the pressure or how much water I want in my system, I can open or close the top tighter or make it looser. So if I have it kind of almost fully there, you'll see that drip happen. And with that, now you have your drip irrigation system for your new plants that hopefully there'll be enough sunlight in this next week to start growing. Now with that, again, like I said, you can go to a sink, go to a faucet, but I would not recommend using water around your devices that you have right now. So what I want to find out from you as you're working and building your systems here, I want to find out from you, what would you do, because this is our last step in the engineering design process, what would you do to improve these models? So I have some, when I was researching and looking online, I saw these awesome examples of people creating a larger scale drip irrigation system and kind of showing more of the surrounding area. So I want to find out from you, what are some things that you would do to improve this design? I think for me, one of those things is I don't want to be the one controlling this. So I would think, is there some way to automate this, right? Or something like that. So in our Q&A, I would love to hear those different ideas on what you would do to improve your design. Go ahead and share with us now. And with that, as you're sharing those ideas, it's come towards the end of our session here where I want to test your knowledge, assess what you learned from us today, and have you join in our live Kahoot. So on a separate window, not tab, or on a separate device, so that you can still see my screen, I want you to go to www.kahoot.it, and our game pin for today is 9457573. Again, our pin is 9457573. So you can check that out in our Q&A. The link and the pin to the Kahoot are going to be there for you. So with that, I want to invite Mr. Bruder back. I'd love to find out maybe about some more parks that people love to explore. I'd also love to hear about some of those dreams that people would love to see in our outdoor spaces. And finally, Mr. Bruder, I want to hear about some of those improvements that they would make to their drip irrigation system.
Hey, Mrs. Bystrak. Yeah, if we could start with the park features, there were quite a few that were shared.
Can't wait to hear them. I bet there's some great ideas out there.
I'm with Aiden. He wants to make sure that it has a basketball court. It's my favorite sport too, so I love parks with that feature.
Awesome. What did I call it earlier? I think I called it a basketball field. I got messed up.
It's okay. We knew what you meant. A lot of different students shared the basic features of a park. We wanted trees, grass, flowers. A lot of students also shared that they like the water features in the park, specifically like those water pads like you shared with us from Stylus Park.
Definitely. I love seeing fountains or hearing that sound of water. I don't know. I really like that as well. Like places where there's running water within a park. I love that too.
We also had some students share about including a baseball field. Zoe shared about recycling areas. So a place where families can be able to recycle different materials. Also where you can wash off items and drink water. Angie shared about a water fountain. Noah wants grass, big open grass areas to play on.
I feel like Mr. Bruder, with all these ideas, they could all collaborate and come up with a plan as landscape architects do for an entire park, right? With a basketball court, figuring out where those restrooms are going to be, putting in those recycle containers and trash containers and all of that, right?
Yeah, I totally think they should. We could build our own CVESD Innovation Park.
I would love it. Oh, that'd be so awesome. I can't wait till it happens.
And then I think earlier you asked about the ask stage, and one of our students shared about Leo shared about how do you make sure the water is safe?
How do you make sure water is safe? So there's a couple different ways to answer this, but I'll answer more specifically in terms of like the landscape architect. I don't know if you've ever been in a park, in a playground where you've seen maybe some purple tubes. This is something we learned from our landscape architects the other day, is that one way we can save water is by using recycled water. And we'll know it's recycled water because it has purple tubing, and there'll be a sign that says, do not drink it because it's recycled water. It hasn't been cleaned or disinfected or free from some of those bacteria, or things could still be in that water. So we have water treatment plants that can clean the water, and there's usually signs or drinking fountains to let you know it's safe, and there's testing that's done, but also there's water out there that if you see those purple pipes, you don't want to drink that water because it hasn't been cleaned or treated all the way. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, that's some great information for us. And speaking of purple, why don't we get started on this Kahoot game?
All right, sounds good. So we
go.
have our players ready. Let's get ready for this competition here. So this is building our drip irrigation system. Let's count it down. So for our first question here, who is responsible for designing parks? Who is responsible for designing parks? Is it Red Triangle Landscape Architects? Is it Yellow Circle Botanists? Is it Blue Diamond Gardeners? Or is it Green Square Ecologists? Again, we took on a role of a specific person today and thinking like that person and learning about those different topics and ideas. So who is responsible for designing parks? Is it Red Triangle Landscape Architect, Yellow Circle Botanist, Blue Diamond Gardeners, or Green Square Ecologists? Those are all great professions, right? All different careers dealing with different aspects. But today we took on the role of one particular career, and let's find out who it was. Ah, very nice. So it looks like today we took on that role of a landscape architect, someone who is responsible for designing parks or those outdoor spaces. So let's go ahead and see our scoreboard here. It looks like Aquatic Meerkat is in the lead. For question 2, what does a plant need to survive? So what does a plant need to survive? Is it Red Triangle sunlight? Is it Yellow Circle water? Is it Blue Diamond nutrients? Or Green Square all of the above? So what does a plant need to survive? So what does a plant need to survive? Is it Red Triangle sunlight? Is it Yellow Circle water? Is it Blue Diamond nutrients? Or is it Blue Square all of the above? These are all different considerations that we talked about the landscape architect would need to have, right? They need to consider lots of conditions for these plants to keep them healthy. So what does a plant need to survive? Let's go ahead. We're going to see our answer in just a moment. Ah, they need all of those things. They need sunlight, water, nutrients, and even air as well. Let's go ahead and check that scoreboard. We have Mystery Bat in the lead with a close follow-up with Hero Lion. Question number 3. Irrigation describes Red Triangle, a type of plant. So is irrigation a type of plant? Is it Orange Circle, a type of fertilizer? Is it Blue Diamond, a way to water plants? Or is it Green Square, when somebody is thirsty? So what does the word irrigation describe? What does irrigation describe? Is it Red Triangle, a type of plant? Is it Orange Circle, a type of fertilizer? Is it Blue Diamond, a way to water plants? Or is irrigation Green Square, when somebody is really, really thirsty? What is irrigation? Don't forget, you built a drip irrigation system today. I'm checking out my drip irrigation system right now. I'm seeing it drip little by little to not waste any water. Ah, looks like it is a way to water those plants. Awesome job. Lots of friends out there getting that answer correct. So with that, Mystery Bat stays in the lead. Let's go to question number 4. Now listen carefully to this one. Which is not a benefit of drip irrigation? Remember, there's lots of different benefits, but what are those benefits? Think about that and then think about which one is not a benefit. So which is not a benefit of drip irrigation? Is it red triangle? It decreases evaporation. Is it orange circle? Reduces weeds. Is it blue diamond? Wastes water. Or is it green square? Delivers water to plant roots. There were lots of different benefits. Think about the things you see on the screen that are positive things and then things that might be a little challenging when we're discussing water. So which is not a benefit of drip irrigation? And there it goes. There goes our time in 3, 2, 1. Let's see how you answered this. Very nice. You realize that this drip irrigation system doesn't waste water. So saving water is actually the benefit of the drip irrigation system. All right, Mystery Bat is in the lead. We're going into our 5th question here, our final part of our quiz. Again, it's a tricky one. Which is not part of a drip irrigation system? So which one's not part of it? Is it red triangle, tubes and piping? Is it orange circle, the pumping unit, or some way to get that water through those pipes? Is it blue diamond, sun? Or is it green square, water supply? So we talked about some components in our plans and in our imagine stage. A couple different things that were important with this drip irrigation system. So which is not part of a drip irrigation system? Is it red triangle, tubes and piping, orange circle, a pumping unit, or a controller? Is it blue diamond, sun? Or is it green square, water supply? Get those answers in. Let's see how we responded. Oh, a little tricky here, a little tricky. So sun is not part of our drip irrigation system. That pumping unit is kind of what we're going to use to control and release that water from our drip irrigation system. So sun was not one of those major components, but plants need that sun to grow. Let's go ahead and check our leaderboard here. In 3rd place, we have Hero Lion. In 2nd place, we have Purple Rhino. And in 1st place, who's it going to be? It is Mystery Bat, kept that lead. So awesome job, everyone. Thank you for participating in our Kahoot today. I hope you enjoyed that Kahoot. All right, so with that, I want to go ahead and give you a couple opportunities for a contest and give you some more information before you leave here. So I want to go ahead and share with you. Give me just one second. My screen is being a little bit funny. I'm going to go ahead and try to get us to where we need to be. Having a little trouble here. There we go. Let me see if I can make this work again. I'm going to try that one more time because I do want to share some more information with you. Let's see. I'm going to try one more time. All right. So with that, if you enjoyed today's activity, I want to let you know you can find all of our recorded programs from all our innovation team on YouTube. So if you go to our CVESD Innovation and Instruction channel, you can join in and participate in many of these different activities that are all recorded. Also, I want to let you know that there is a poster contest. I know a lot of you are artists out there. There is a poster contest that is happening that's being sponsored by both Sweetwater Authority and Otay Water District. Two of our friends, those are the friends that get that water to us. So if you learn something about conserving or saving water or thinking about how water is life, we're going to put the links in the Q&A for you to go ahead and check out and see if you want to join in that poster contest as well. And finally, I want to invite you to join in next week with our health station coach, Coach Ramirez, as you are going to be building a foosball table. So foosball is one of those really fun games. It invites some friendly competition. So join us again at 12 o'clock next week, next Friday. Join Coach Ramirez as you build a foosball table. Well, with that, I hope you enjoyed today's event. I hope you're going to be able to grow some of those plants or irrigate them and use that drip irrigation system. And with that, I hope you have a happy, safe weekend and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.